even if you know that you want to be a teacher and that's all you know, you've always known, I'd say it's worth taking a couple of years to just sit on the idea before going into it straight from university.
Hello and welcome back to Future You, the podcast brought to you by graduate careers experts Prospects. I'm your host, Emily Slade, and in this episode, we discuss what it's like being a secondary school drama teacher.
I am Kat Morris and I am a teacher of drama at a senior school in Reading, and I teach drama from year 7 all the way up to sixth form, so that's 11-year-olds to 17.
Wow, that's a big spectrum.
Yes.
So,
Very big.
what did your educational journey look like?
So I went to a school not dissimilar to the one that I work at now, an all-girls school in Windsor, and I was there for my whole school life, and I loved school. I think that's one of the reasons why I went back into school, into teaching, is because I really, really I had a great time at school. And then from sixth form, I went straight got my A-levels and went straight to university. I went to the University of Kent, and I studied drama and theatre for 4 years. And then I thought I wanted to go straight into teaching. And I went to go and do a PGCE, but during that process, sort of decided that I needed a little bit more time and that I wasn't sort of ready to become a teacher. So I took a few years of doing other bits and pieces. I worked in retail and the fitness industry, and then I finally came back to teaching, and I didn't go through the normal, in inverted commas, way of doing it. I went in a bit of a weird way round.
So what was the weird way?
So I instead of doing a PGCE, I decided that I wanted to apply for a school and just see what it was like working in a school, maybe not as a teacher first. And a job at the school I'm currently at now came up, and it was sort of an admin role in the drama department. It was really, really lucky to have come up at the right time. I wasn't really suited for it in terms I was quite overqualified for it, as I'd studied drama at university. It was more like a gap year job, really, for students maybe between A-levels and uni. But I applied for it anyway, and I got the job, and I was doing sort of assisting with extracurricular and curricular stuff at the school. And then I got a little bit like itchy feet, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to start teaching, and I literally just asked my head of department and went, "Can I do some teaching?" And they were like, "Yeah, you can do some teaching at Key Stage 3, where there's less to do and less risk." So I started teaching year 7 and 8 and a bit of year 9 as well, I think. And and then I started on a qualification called it's like a special route called the assessment only route, which basically is you kind of bypass a lot of PGCE stuff. You do the kind of minimum whilst you're working, and it means you can earn money and also get a qualification that allows you to teach.
So, was the plan... It sounds like the plan was always to end up teaching. Was the plan to end up teaching specifically drama?
I think so. I mean, with teaching in a private school, at least, you're sort of bound by your degree and your previous training. So, I mean, I would love to teach art. I'd like to maybe turn my hand to like PE or something, because I have knowledge in those areas, but I don't think this particular school would be the place for that to happen, where it's a bit more specific to your training. But that said, I know that pretty much most other schools have a teacher as a teacher, but I do really, I mean, it's the subject that I trained in and I love the most. So it would definitely always be my focus subject. It'd be nice to maybe do some other bits and pieces, but I would definitely do it predominantly.
Yeah. So what's the most rewarding aspect of teaching drama?
Just seeing the development from, because as I say, I teach from year 7 to year 13. So, and most, not most students, but a lot of students stay the whole way through. And I will often teach them, maybe not the whole way through, but I would have taught them when they were younger. And so, for example, the year sevens that I started with are now in year 12.
Wow.
And it's really weird.
Yeah.
And it's great. And you just see, I mean, you get that in any subject, but it's just like there's something about it in drama that's really special, because I think it's because the relationship is slightly different between a drama teacher and a student, where it's a bit more personal. There's a little bit more, like, the barriers are broken down a little bit
Yeah.
more. So yeah, and the way that your relationship changes over time is really interesting, and it's just great to see them develop into really talented performers.
Yeah. I imagine it's quite, the space of drama is a much different space to any other formal classroom. You get to let your hair down a bit more. As you say,
Uh-huh.
those barriers are broken a bit more. So you almost see a different side of these students and they get to express a different side of themselves as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. That's crazy to be with them. As you say, that's a general teacher thing of being with them from a very young age to a much older age and to see them grow. And that must be so rewarding. That's
Yeah, and you're
crazy.
with them so much, like, it's the amount of hours that you're with them, throughout a year is incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't need to have kids. I have hundreds of them.
Thousands of them. So, what does a typical day in your life as a drama teacher look like, both in and out of the classroom?
My timetable is pretty nice this year. It changes each year, but generally speaking, I'll arrive in the morning and try desperately to get my self together and sort my stuff out. And there's never very much time. That is like a key theme running through teaching generally, is that you always feel like you are sort of keeping your head above the water, and sometimes only just about, and at other times comfortably so. But the water level never really goes below your shoulders, I'd say,
Mhm.
until the holidays, and then you get these nice big long breaks. But during term time, it's a lot. But yeah, I'll come in the morning and get myself together. I'm a tutor as well, and I form tutor for year 7, so that's the first thing I do, go and register my tutor group, and we have assembly, or we have loads of other stuff to do. There's all kinds of stuff going on at the school all the time, very, very busy. And then I'm into my teaching day. On a heavy day, I'll teach for most of the day between 9 and 3:45. But I'm pretty lucky in that my timetable isn't super heavy. So yeah, and I can have any combination of lessons. So I could go from a year 13 double to a year 7 double, with like a break between of 15 minutes. So it's having to switch. I think that's one of the things, that the skills that you develop very quickly, is being able to switch your brain into different modes of, like, the content, and also just the way that you are with the students.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's every single day I get home and I feel very satisfied, but also very tired.
I was gonna say, it sounds sort of mentally draining of that constant switching and preparing and being on top of things. And then are you also physically walking around the school, taking yourself to different classrooms, or are you quite
Oh yeah.
easily?
I'll clock up around, like, I've got my watch on, so it does my step count, and I think I clock up about 7 kilometers a day, just like running around school.
Yeah.
And some days are worse than others, but generally speaking, yeah, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot of
Yeah.
movement. And even within the classroom as well, especially with drama, like, I'm standing up, I'm showing them stuff, I'm demoing stuff, I'm walking around the classroom checking that they know what they're doing.
Mhm.
So movement wise, yeah, physical and mental energy, it's very demanding. But then that's why the days are relatively compact.
Mhm.
We're working from we're actually properly working from 8:30 till 3:45. And then we've, got stuff after school sometimes as well. But there's fairly compact days. And then we get these big, long holidays. And, the private school holidays are absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
They just go on, and that really does allow you to reset. So
Yeah.
it's not all bad.
So there's not too much demanding admin paperwork during the holiday time. You do get time to rest.
Yeah, I mean, like it depends again. Certain subjects, I mean, drama, there's less marking, etc. But it just depends. We do have a lot of things to keep on top of, things like parents' evenings and report writing, and the marking that we do kind of always comes all at once. And yeah, you do need to use some of the holiday to catch up, and the sort of the beginning and the ends usually bookend the holidays with like maybe 3 days, 4 days of work. But we're talking, I get 3 weeks at Christmas and 3 weeks at Easter. And, 3 weeks is long enough to do a couple of days at the beginning and a couple of days at the end and not really feel impacted too much. So yeah, no, it's fine. It works. It works. It's really great having that time.
Yeah, definitely. And just during the day as well, even during your breaks and your lunch hour, are you still having to be active and available to students if they needed like personal help or advice, or they come to you with a task or something?
Yeah, definitely. And I think drama teachers are definitely get like accosted more frequently because we have that relationship that we have with the students.
Hmm.
They are constantly in the drama department, like just I don't know, sometimes doing absolutely nothing, and we
Hmm.
have to tell them to go away. But it's often like rehearsing or
Yeah.
doing rehearsing for stuff outside of school as well, rehearsing for like various auditions for drama schools or like National Youth Theatre, or they're looking for advice on stuff. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's being available constantly, definitely, but it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that you're required. So I do feel like I balance my week is quite nicely balanced, and I can hide away and just have some time downtime, especially at lunch. Like I get at least half an hour to myself, which is nice.
Nice. Yeah, brilliant. To stay on the subject of balance, how do you balance the creative and logistical aspects of your job? You've mentioned the paperwork aspects that you have to get done, and then also you've got organizing school productions, preparing lessons, being a coach for the students, that sort of thing. So how do you balance it all?
I think the short answer is like no one does really very well. Like I think the biggest lesson that I learned from teaching is that you have to become okay with not being like great all the time at everything.
Hmm.
Like you have to let go of any kind of perfectionism or anything like that, because you're not going to be able to nail absolutely everything. It's one of the things that I don't like about it, because I tend towards that way of being. And so I
Hmm.
have found that transition to becoming less focused on getting everything right quite challenging. But that said, I think it has made me a more rounded person overall. But yeah, I think balancing those two sides of your brain almost, like the creative side and then the more like kind of logistical side, it's very difficult. And I think certain subjects have it a bit easier because their subject may be more like similar to all of that stuff, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. So they have less creativity woven into the subject. But yeah, with drama it's like it's a very stark
Hmm.
contrast. Yeah, it's just being okay with it being mediocre is sometimes the only way, and just trying to make it as good as possible, and trying to balance it as well as you can, and just trying to tick things off. That is key. Just trying to get through that to-do list sometimes is the best thing you can do, and not worry too much about the detail.
Yeah, definitely. So that certainly sounds like some of the biggest challenges. Are there any other challenges that you face?
I mean, definitely, like, you are working with the students, immediately, but they are all connected to parents, and you are constantly trying to the parents are the ones that are choosing to send their children to the school. And as I say, because we're a private school, we are also in the position that we're dealing with kind of a customer kind of situation, and that does complicate things. So I think one of the hardest things is making sure that you are doing what's best for the student, doing what's best for the parent, and doing what's best for you. And sometimes all of those things don't really align. Sometimes they often don't align, and so that's really tough. Just dealing with parents generally can be quite challenging, because they, not that they are challenging even, but just that interaction is difficult, because you're both talking about this thing that you care a lot about. And sometimes you can disagree on things. That's often the interaction that you have. It's like, no news is good news.
Yeah.
And there's like, when something's wrong, that's when you'll have those interactions. So definitely, that's definitely a difficult thing. And I think all teachers find dealing with parents, whether they are easy to deal with or difficult to deal with, it's a hard thing to do.
100%. Off the back of that, is disciplining students quite challenging? Because I'm sure nobody wants to, but I'm sure you're put in positions where you have to.
Yeah. I actually really struggle a lot with that. And I think it's coming from, you know, I don't know, I just don't ever feel like it's helpful. And that is something that I've had to really learn how to do and get better at, because obviously it is very helpful. I think it's because my idea of discipline was wrong, and really it's just about making sure that the boundaries are clear at all times, and there's never any need, in my opinion, to kind of shout or become angry. It's just a constant kind of reminding. And since I've become better at understanding how I do it personally, because I think everyone does it differently, and that's another good thing to remember about lots of aspects of teaching. But yeah, I have found that difficult, because I never ever want to be the bad guy. And I never ever want to upset a child, but you sort of just you have to sometimes, and it's a really difficult situation. And then in doing so, you often upset the parent as well. So it's very, very difficult to balance everything, and be confident. I think the confidence to discipline takes quite a lot.
Yeah, 100%. So what advice do you have for those looking to become a secondary school teacher?
I'd say if you do need to, even if you know that you want to be a teacher and that's all you know, you've always known, I'd say it's worth taking a couple of years to just sit on the idea before going into it straight from university, especially if you're going to go and do a PGCE, because whilst it's good to kind of continue the momentum of, you do your BA and then you do your master's at PGCE and you just go straight through. It does kind of make sense in time-wise, but I don't know if it always makes sense life experience-wise.
Yeah.
I think I really retrospectively pleased with the fact that I did that I took, however many years, I think it was like 3 or 4 years of just going like, doing other stuff. And it also gives you perspective on things like the amount of holiday that we get, and how difficult this job is compared to other jobs, but then how rewarding this job is compared to other jobs. One thing that I always say to people is like the biggest difference between teaching like this job that I have now and previous jobs I've had in retail and in the fitness industry and whatever else, is that when I look at the clock at school, I panic because I don't have enough time to do stuff, rather than thinking, oh my God, that's how long I have until I can go home. I
Yeah.
never ever think that at school. Like, not once have I gone and looked at the clock and thought, oh God, there's this much time left.
Yeah.
Because you've just got so much to do, and you are but it's like, it's sometimes overwhelming, but definitely most of the time manageable. But you're so engaged and you're so invested as well that you never ever think about time in that same way. And I think that is surely more rewarding. Like,
Hmm.
surely that means that you're getting more from the thing that you're doing with most of your life. Ultimately, work is like
Yeah.
so much of your life. So I think not willing away the time is like a really big thing.
Yeah. And what advice for those looking to specifically get into drama teaching?
I think it's very difficult because it's quite competitive. So I think again, and that another thing that goes it's in like the positives of taking a little bit of time is waiting for that right job to come up. And all of the jobs are advertised, most of the jobs in the UK anyway are advertised. And I think overseas actually as well are advertised on tests. And you can find all the jobs around on there, all different subjects, all different kinds of jobs within education. And yeah, I think that having a degree in the subject is very, it's really, really good, especially if you want to teach at in the private sector. Um, but it's mainly just jumping on any jobs that come up. And I think like all drama departments in all schools are really like, even if the school is sort of other parts of the school aren't particularly like they're not thriving, often the drama department is, so it's
Hmm.
worth just going in for anything and throwing yourself in and just going for a couple of terms and seeing how it goes. I didn't do my PGCE, so I wouldn't say that that was necessary. Depends on where you're trying to get into, what kinds of schools you're trying to get into. But it's kind of the main thing is ear to the ground and having that degree in the subject in drama or theatre or something that's somewhat close to the subject.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you so, so much for your time today.
Cool, no worries.
Thanks again to Kat for their time. Head to prospects.ac.uk for more information on becoming a secondary school teacher or to learn more about what to do with a drama degree. All links are in the show notes below. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you, as always, for listening and good luck on your journey to future you.